What's going on, everyone? This is Jared Thorbourne, also known as your favorite loan officer. And today I have the pleasure with sitting with Tyler Mount. How you doing,
I'm
Tyler?
good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
And now you're here as at the New York City Real Estate Expo as one of the main panelists, and you spoke to a pretty big crowd in regards to who you are and what you do. And I just kind of wanted to dive in a little more personally here.
Absolutely. I accidentally fell into this, and we can obviously discuss that later. But,
Right.
my company, Henry Street Creative, is a premium digital marketing agency that is
Right.
dedicated to building the personal brands of some of the most prolific leaders in our space, specifically in the world of real estate.
Right.
I've learned, throughout my almost decade career, repping some of the icons of our industry, the people that I look up to so greatly,
Right.
from the Ryan Serhants to the Spencer Rascoffs to the CEOs of Twitter and T-Mobile and even the sitting president. What I've learned is that personal brand and how can you differentiate yourself in a really saturated market is the single most important thing that you can do
Right.
in any type of business scenario.
Right, with all the competitiveness and
Yeah.
the other companies out there.
Yeah.
You said what really sets Henry Street Creative apart from everyone else.
Yeah, well, similar to what I teach, the first thing that sets our company apart is me,
Right.
Just like what you do isn't special,
Yes.
but you as a provider are,
Right.
You're not the only person who can find me a mortgage,
Right. Right.
But your clients only want to work with you.
Right.
And that is what we really have to capitalize and harness on, right?
Right.
How can I bring our authentic truth to everything we do? So not only is it me, which is a small portion of who we are and what we're doing, it really is about how we approach this work.
Right.
It is not through the corporate entity. It's not about the brokerage. It's about the individual at the brokerage.
Right.
How do we remove the individual from any, large mortgage company, from any large residential or commercial real estate brokerage,
Right.
and move them to a new market, move them to a new brokerage, and still have them maintain that sense of worth because it's rooted in them
Right.
versus in the company they work for.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what would you say that you as a person, what characteristic would you say separates you from your competition and ultimately led you to your success?
Well, look, I'm a really hard worker, but that's not unique, especially in this industry, especially in the city, okay?
Right.
I would say two major things. My energy. I'm caffeine free because, could you imagine me with any caffeine? I'd literally lose my mind, right? My energy and really my unapologetic passion for what I do. Does that make me a nerd? Maybe. Why I love real estate digital marketing, I'm unclear.
Right.
But it is my life's work. I love the people I rep. I love the people I work with and work
Right.
for. And so I really like to think that parlays into my work with these
Amazing.
clients.
Amazing. Henry Street Creative Agency, who do you guys target as your audience?
So in terms of our audience, I work with the top brokers and residential agents in the country,
Right.
In any given market, right? I rep number one in Jackson Hole. I rep one of the top fives in New York City. And I have a roster of 48 full-time clients, which
Amazing.
is fantastic. But that's where I'm tapped out. I have to make sure that I have enough time for all of my clients
Right.
to service them. But in terms of who we serve, it is almost exclusively the real estate market. So you have real estate agents, broker owners, brokerages at the corporate level, lenders, developers, and even custom home builders.
Why is it beneficial for a lender, for a real estate broker to use someone like yourself at Henry Street Creative Agency?
Well, I think the answer is really simple. It goes back to the original philosophy that what you do is not special.
Right.
Anyone can write a contract. Anyone who's licensed can find me a loan or originate a loan, okay?
Right.
It is how do I separate ourselves in a really saturated market
Right.
without that understanding and without that ownership? You as Ryan Serhant says, you literally just blend into a sea of salespeople.
Right.
And my job is to not only represent you, but to ensure that ecosystem, that narrative that people find online about you
Right.
is so strong that they have a vote of confidence even before they meet you.
Right. How important is it for someone like myself, for a real estate agent, to sign up for your services? How important is it to have that presence online and the marketing online?
Well, look, I'm super biased. I think my services are exceptional. But let's even remove me from the scenario. Even without me, even without Henry Street Creative, the thing that I want to stress is having this in your business is non-negotiable. And that's not because I work in this industry. It's because people are not going to your website. They are Googling your first and last name.
Yes.
And if your Instagram looks like a kindergartner made it, if your LinkedIn says you're a grocery store manager from 12 years ago, if your Zillow and Redfin and Trulia profiles are outdated, what does that say about you? You could be the number one agent in terms of production in the market, and a stranger is not working with you because they don't trust you. And on the opposite, I don't care if you're brand new to the industry. If you have a really strong digital ecosystem, website, social, that really presents you as the best in the industry, because perception is truth in marketing, people will believe it.
Amazing, amazing. So just getting a little more in depth in your business. I sign up with Henry Street Creative. Walk me through the process. Walk me through how I get started, what happens once I get started, you know, how you nurture my business, how you expose my business online.
Yeah. So there are two major parts to my business. I have my consultancy, which is me and you working one-on-one weekly or bi-weekly, okay? Private one-on-one sessions and consultancy. The other portion is not a money-making venture, which my sales team hates, right? It is about how can I fuel your business, which is the agency side. If you don't have a personal website, I'm not going to send you to a third party to pay $7,000 and wait 10 months for a website. I have in-house providers that are going to do that for you at cost. Why? Because if I can get you the best product at the lowest cost and as quickly as possible, you are going to not only do better in our work together, but you're going to retain me as a consultant longer. So the way this process works is quite simple. You sign up with me today. I see you probably next week. We have an hour-long discovery call. In that discovery call, I ask you 51 really important questions that span professional, financial, and personal, and even relationship history. That's so important because you're not a sales robot. You're a fully functioning, multi-hyphenate human being. And us talking about your partner, us talking about your hobbies, your dreams, your aspirations outside of funding real estate transactions actually makes you more approachable. From there, I go off, I create a comprehensive strategy that I present to you the next time I see you. And then I see you every other week. I really track what those deliverables are. But the real value is the fact that you retain me. Similarly to a lawyer for a flat fee. Whenever you have questions about that website, that social post, what do I write? How do I do this? I'm scaling back, I'm sunsetting, M&A. You come to me in between those calls and you know that you have an advocate and a champion of your business who has done this thousands of times in his career. So that's how I really work, and that's the value that the majority of my clients see.
Amazing. And your business has scaled significantly since when you started it, right?
Absolutely.
So how is it that you time manage everything to where they can still call Tyler? You know, that's very important because a lot of companies, they'll have you call their assistant, they'll have them call another sales rep. How do you keep yourself in a position to where your clients, your first appointment clients, can actually reach you?
So there is no question. It is non-negotiable. If you are on my roster, you have unprecedented access to me. And I ensure that my roster is capped at a level that allows me that flexibility. Now, I don't believe in the word time blocking because for executives, especially the people I represent, the idea that you're going to do the same thing on Wednesdays from 9 to 11 every day of your life is absurd, right? Instead, I look at my week in terms of time. I don't want to say blocks because I just talked about how I hate time blocking, but like flexible but non-negotiable time blocking, meaning I know I have 6 calls a day with my clients. I know that I work out for an hour. I know that I have to shower and brush my teeth for 30 minutes. I know that I have a 90-minute work hold so I can answer your emails and take your calls, right? I have complete flexibility when you need to change your schedule, okay? But if you ask me to take a call with you at 9 p.m., my answer is no. Not because I don't care about you. I deeply care about you. It's because that impacts the rest of my business and my ability to help others. So it is having a really strong and almost like religious approach to your time management skills so that I can serve everyone in the way that they're hoping.
Amazing. If there's any young men or women out there that are looking to pursue something similar to your career, what advice do you have to them? How can they start out? How can they get to the point that you're at? Obviously, it's trial and error. It's a lot of sacrifice. But what can they do to get started?
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of error. I've made many, many mistakes, and I'll make more mistakes today even. But, you know, what I will say is the thing that I have learned in my career is that good people deserve good support. And I deeply believe that. And my mission and my business is based on a simple philosophy that lighting someone else's candle doesn't extinguish my own.
Wow.
And so I really try to show up as a kind and generous and gracious human being
Right.
with a great attitude, ready to help and ready to work.
Right.
Am I 100% successful there? No. I get sassy and mean and like the rest of us, right? When
Right.
I'm pissed off. However, the core of who I am and the core of who I try to be is someone who is kind. And even if I miss the mark in terms of my role, which happens every now and then,
Right.
you're still going to walk away and be like, he has the best intentions and he's kind.
Yes.
And I'll always be the first to admit, messed up here. I'm going to come back tomorrow and set expectations.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
that's really important to me.
Amazing. Tyler, where can they find you on social media, websites? Where can they go to your page and check you out a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm online everywhere at Tyler G Mount, TYLERGMOUNT. And you can check out my website, tylergmount.com or henrystreetcreative.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
Thanks so
Tyler.
much for
Thanks
having
the
me. I
interview.
appreciate
Yes.
you. Thanks so much.